Welcome to the Working Women's Channel. My name is Clara Capano, and we're going to share the real secrets to success. Come on in.
Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Working Women's Channel. I am your host, Clara Capano, and we are here to talk about all things success as it pertains to women in business. And I am being joined by the amazing Jennifer Senn. And Jennifer, it's so good to have you here. Welcome.
Oh, thank you so much. I'm so happy to be here.
Yeah, we met just a few weeks ago when I was on your show, and I was just so blown away by all the work that you're doing. So I'm really excited to introduce you to my viewers because I know you're going to have a lot of great tidbits for us and some, really great items for us. But before we dive in, why don't you just briefly introduce yourself to the team?
Yeah, so I'm Jennifer Senn, and I am a coach for parents of stillborn babies. I was a business owner and coach for many years. And what I realized is that women in business who were oftentimes struggling had some sort of connection to their past of a past baby loss. And as we know, with women and motherhood, that kind of loss really sticks with you and affects so many areas of your life. So that's what I decided to focus on now.
And what a
Mhm.
beautiful thing because again, you can't, there's no words you can even put on something like that. And to be able to again, create a support system to be able to help, women going through that is so powerful. So I just acknowledge you for that wonderful
Mm.
platform that you're creating.
Thank you so much. Yeah, it's a very underserved area for sure. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
So let's kind of dive right in. The whole purpose of the show is to let women everywhere know that they are not alone. And we all
Mhm.
know that there are certain times where we face challenges and obstacles. And it's easy for people to just tell us, oh, just keep pushing through. But many times in those moments, it's hard to just keep showing up, even though we know we have to. Can you think about a time in your life where you went through a particularly rough challenge and you had to keep showing up, even when you didn't want to?
Yeah. Yes, for sure. Well, m- the thing that obviously comes first to my mind is when I had the loss of my twin girls who were stillborn. I had two little boys. They were 2 and 5, and got the news that we were having twin girls. We were so excited about this grand finale to our family, and got 32 weeks in, was starting to get things ready to go, and all of a sudden there was no heartbeats. So went through an unthinkable time of the delivery and everything that goes after it, and it rocked my world. E and, and then I had these children that needed their mother, and this husband who wanted his wife to be normal again, and it just was a really, really hard time because I was a businesswoman. I owned a salon. I had to go back to work and repeat this story day after day after day to people who really just were looking to me to be exactly who I was before because they wanted me to feel good again and I just couldn't. So I think that was definitely the time where I just lost myself for a long time. I stuffed it down. I just was like, okay, I need to pull it together for everyone else in my life. And then at some point, I realized, okay, this is not, I don't even recognize myself anymore. I don't know what I'm going to do. But things were really just starting to crumble.
Mm.
I was afraid to dream about the future
Ah,
because I've dreamed about the future before and I saw what happened. It didn't work out. So I was very cautious. And when you're in business and you own a business and you have employees counting on you to be the driver, you
mhm.
can't be cautious. You have to be a little bit fearless.
Mm.
So that was taking a toll on my business. My marriage was, we were just going day to day, but not really again, making plans much for the future. I was trying to preserve every minute of what I had
Mhm.
with my family and my children as they were, because I was so scared of what might come
Right.
if I didn't hang on tight.
Yeah, so many
And
powerful things that, you're
Mhm.
talking of. And before we go any further, I just want to kind of
Yeah.
bring back a couple of things as one, this idea, because I know when I go to my stylist, I'm expecting her to make me laugh and to be there for me. And, never really thought about it from the fact that you had to relive this again each and every day because they wanted to hear about it, because they knew about it and they wanted to be there. And that's a whole other, level of doing that. And again, this concept of being afraid for the future,
Mhm.
being afraid to live forward because it was taken from you. Your future was taken from you in a moment. So, what were some of the things that you did in those moments? Like, how did you even get out of bed? Because you had to. I mean, you still had these other two children and a business. Like, how did you even force yourself to get up and get going?
Yeah. I mean, it was really out of necessity. And there were lots of days when I would lay there and think, if I didn't have these kids getting me up, I would not be getting up.
Mm.
So yeah, it was definitely out of necessity. And I think half necessity and half trying to feel like, well, this is what I have to do to try to get back to normal. Everything. And it's a lot of my with the work that I do with my clients too, is they so desperately want that back to normal feeling. And I think what I would love for everyone to know is you're never going to be back to normal.
Mm.
But if you have any kind of life altering event, you're never going to be back to normal or back to yourself. But it is possible to recreate who you are, and and then later on, be even better. But yeah, I think
Yeah,
just
and I think that that's so
necessity.
powerful because, people can experience different kinds of loss, and, whether it's a divorce or the death or, whatever it may be. And I love what you say that, and I think that's a really powerful word because you will never be back because
Mm-mm.
it's impossible. It's
Yeah.
impossible to do that. There is an alteration inside of you. So you will never be able. But I love what you're saying that you have to sort of create a new normal, a new
Mhm.
version. And so,
Mhm.
what were some of the things that, you did to help you to start the forward momentum in creating this new normal for yourself and this new identity?
Well, the thing that instantly comes to mind is I then had another baby, because that will certainly cure everything, right? And what I realized was that it didn't. It didn't take away my grief. It didn't cover up anything. It did bring me joy for sure. But
But it
yeah,
didn't
so
fix it. It's that
it
the
did
past still
not.
happened. It didn't cover it up and say,
No.
"Oh, well, we're just done with that." And I think
No.
again, regardless of the loss, you could jump into a new relationship, you can do these things, but you have
Anything.
to still grieve because that loss
Absolutely.
is still a loss.
Yes. Yes.
Mm.
100%. And so I did, I had this new baby, but yet you're still grieving and you're still doing all these things. And then I happened upon I hired a business coach, and she also was a life coach who taught me that it's okay to feel what you're feeling, which was something completely new to me, because I grew up in the house in the 70s where the mom was like, stop crying, you're gonna give you something to cry about, or
Mhm.
just you know or you have to just
Figure it
be
out,
be
and yeah.
nice to
Mhm.
everyone. You don't worry about your feelings, you worry about theirs. And so that was such an
Right.
insane concept for me, to like sit in ickiness and sit in grief and sit in sadness. But I started to do it. I
Mhm.
started to do it. And that's when things really started to shift for me, is when I did allow myself to feel the feelings, because I could feel the grief, but then I still could feel the joy. And I allowed myself the joy because, like, again, I wasn't allowing myself the joy because I was too scared it was going to disappear.
Yeah. Do you think that a lot of women, are going through that same thing where asking for help, showing our feelings, showing that vulnerability, that we sort of have this internal dialogue of it's weakness, and so we try to avoid it?
Yeah.
Mhm.
Yes. I mean, my goodness, people don't want to see you cry. And especially I think, in my career, I had 8 to 10 different people in the course of a day. They
Mm.
did not want to see me cry 8 to 10 times, and I didn't want to cry to 8 to 10 times a day. So I yeah, just painted on this persona. And
Yeah.
I think we almost convince ourselves that that's who we are and what we can do.
Yeah. And I think again there is beauty in leaning into the grief, and as hard as it is, you got to feel what you feel, because again it's the only way to work through it. And again, it's never going to go away. And I don't know if this is the right word, but you learn kind of a level, I guess, of accepting that
Mm.
it happened, and being able to hold that space still for it, and still allow yourself to go into your new space.
Yes.
Yeah. Now,
Yeah.
how did all of this affect your current family? Because again, the mom tends to be the center of the household, and I guarantee that they felt it too. So, what were some of the other
Mhm.
things that you saw in how it affected those around you?
Yeah. I think it just really it made us very aware that you may not get to keep things forever, keep
Mm.
people forever. It turned me into an exceptionally fierce mama. I really probably there were times in my marriage when wasn't favorable because I was so ingrained in my children and their lives and their safety and their well-being that I kind of put my marriage on the back burner. But luckily my husband is incredibly understanding and kind, and he stuck in there with me and we figured it out. But it yeah, I think it does change your dynamic. I also my mother lost a baby at full term before me. So she very much so it was something that I grew up with, even, this knowledge of baby loss and how real it is. So I do, I'm hoping that my children appreciated
Mhm.
that they did have a mother who was so, thankful for their lives and really was involved in every minute of it.
So, I want to ask you a question from the other side of the coin, because
Mhm.
when you go through loss, others want to be there for you, but they
Mhm.
sometimes don't know what to do, what to say. I know that when I was pregnant with my son, one of my coworkers was also pregnant, and we were due within about 2 weeks of each other. And Nicholas was born, everything went great. Her child was stillborn. And, you know, and I see this because I am in a position where, I'm fortunate. I haven't lost my parents. Both my parents are still alive, even though I've gone through a divorce. But from an outside perspective, can you give us some advice if you are coming across a friend, a coworker, a family member who is going through loss? What are some of the best things that we can do to be there for them, and also do it with sincerity and genuineness?
Yeah, thank you so much for this question because I think it's just something, again, it's so uncomfortable for everyone and no one knows what to do. And so sometimes you say things that feel like they should be helpful, but really aren't on the receiving end. So my advice is please don't say anything that starts with at least. The minute you say at least, it minimizes everything. And, at least you can get pregnant again. At least you're still young. At least you have other children, whatever it is.
Mhm.
So please try to avoid that. I think right now, the best thing to do is to send a text. I'm bringing dinner. What night would be best?
Mhm.
I'm dropping off a bag of groceries. Are you going to be home? I'm thinking of you. And if you know the baby's name, if the baby had a name, name the baby.
Okay.
Because that, to us, our babies are just as important as our living children, and they have names.
Mhm.
And when you can use their names, that means everything to a lost mom. And whether it's been 3 months or 10 years, you can text that person and say, I was just thinking about you and,
Mhm.
the baby today. And I just wanted to know that you're doing great, whatever it is. Just really, that's all they need. They don't need anything else. They don't even know what they need. They're just trying to breathe.
Right. And I love the idea of, don't call them and ask them, is there anything you need or what can I do?
No.
Because they don't even know. It's just I'm dropping off groceries, I'm bringing by dinner. And again, just taking care of it for them.
Yep. Because
Mm.
they don't know what they need. No
Right.
one ever imagines what you would need in this situation. So yeah.
And again, I think that transpires into, again, anything, again, the loss of a family member, just, they're in the thick of it. And I love the idea of don't ask them, the at least. I think that's kind of a go-to for so many people. And you're right. I
It
think people
is.
say it with the intention, but the receiving of it is not there.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, it's not
yeah.
helpful.
Wow. So what would be maybe if somebody is going through, loss, whether it's the loss of, a child or whatever it may be, what would you say are some things, some good starting points for them on their healing process?
I think
Everyone's different. So I know it's hard to say
yeah.
one thing,
Yeah,
everyone is different. But
it
from
is.
your experience, what would you say are some of the things that you have found help a lot of your clients?
Yeah, I think and again, this can go for any death,
Mhm.
is the most important thing is to talk about it.
Mhm.
Right? Because if you lose a, 90-year-old grandparent, we're all going to get together at dinner and we're going to laugh and we're going to reminisce and talk about it. But no one does that with babies. No one does that with babies. So, yes, whatever stage of grief, your lost person was, talk about them.
Mhm.
That is the most healing thing, is to, even just find a person or a few people that are really safe that will just listen and talk to you about them.
Because I think also in another way, that's a way of honoring them,
Yeah.
whether again, they were 0 days old or 102 days old. It's the
Yes.
honoring of them. So that's a great one. What would be another maybe idea that you have for them?
I think to be willing to have celebrations.
Mm.
I think especially the younger moms now, they're a little bolder maybe than I was in my day, or certainly my mother was, so let them let them display some pictures.
Mhm.
Let them have a birthday party if they want to. And I think sometimes what I know in my community is lots of times they'll get some feedback from from someone else that's like, oh, you shouldn't be doing that. That makes it too awkward or uncomfortable. And it's no different. So let them do it.
Another thing I would like to ask about, and this might be a deeper question, this concept of shame, because I think when we experience loss, we internalize it and feel shame. Again, did I do something wrong to my
Mhm.
body that caused this baby to not make it? What did I do in my marriage that caused this marriage to end? If a parent dies, why wasn't I there more for them? I think that we internalize it. And what are some thoughts you have around that? And if you could speak to that.
Mhm. Well, this is a huge topic, because there is one person responsible for growing and carrying this baby before it's born, and it's you. So often when things go wrong, that is the person you turn to blame for everything. What did I do? My body failed me. My body's betrayed me. Yeah, it's very hard
Mhm.
to deal with that, but I encourage my clients really just talk to your doctor. There's so many unexplained losses
Mhm.
with baby loss. Chances are your body was perfect for what your baby needed. And there's so many unexplained reasons why it didn't, you know,
Mhm.
come to be, but it's not your fault.
And I think that again, it's that part of, the acknowledgement, but the sort of the surrendering and just, you
Yeah.
and being like, okay, this is what happened. And again,
Yeah.
let's face it, let's talk about it. But holding that space for yourself as well.
Yeah.
So, well, Jennifer, again, the platform that you're creating for such a sacred space is important because I don't think enough people are talking about it because I think, it's a very personal thing and not everyone goes through it. So I don't think that there are enough outlets. So I love what you are doing. And I just, again, encourage anybody to reach out to you, whether they are going through it or, know of somebody that can be there. I also know that, you're just starting, your star is rising and there's so much more. What is next for you?
So what's next for me is I'm creating just some different ways that people can get the support that they need. So I do have a private Facebook group. I do private one-on-one coaching. I'm launching a Voxer coaching for those who don't love to, to be live in person. So yes, I'm just really just trying to make it accessible for women to get the help they need no matter what stage or how long it's been and what they're feeling.
Yeah, love it. So we're going to put all of your contact information in the show notes. But
Right.
if you just had to say, what is one place where, if anybody wanted to find you quickly, what is the best place for them to search for you?
The best place would be my website. It's just jennifersenn.com. That has all of everything. I have a lot of free resources there, and ways to contact me.
Beautiful. Excellent. And as we wrap all this up, we covered so many topics. The idea of, again, acknowledging and honoring where you are, the idea of not being afraid to share your true feelings and that it's okay to move forward, that you don't have to let go and ignore the past and still be able to move forward. But in closing, is there any last words or one last kind of statement that you would like to leave with our listeners?
I think it's what you said at the beginning. What you're creating for your listeners is you're not alone. No matter what you've gone through, there is someone who can walk with you through it and can show you the way. And I know when I first experienced my loss, that's all I wanted was to find someone who had been through it that could tell me it was going to be okay. And that's really what I'm trying to do for others, and I know you are too. So,
Ugh, I love
you
that.
know,
So, and it will. Again, we have to seek each other out and again know that we're not alone and it will be okay. Doesn't mean it's going to be easy getting there, but
no,
it will be okay. So,
right.
well, Jennifer, thank you so much. I appreciate you sharing your time
Mm.
with us. And for all of you out there listening and following, again, please reach out to Jennifer. Please keep her information because you might run into that other woman who really just needs to be able to have that connection and know that she's not alone as well. So thank you for joining us today for another episode of the Working Women's Channel, where we are talking about how we keep going forward and how as women, we are so much stronger when we come together. So thanks for joining. I'm Clara Capano, and I'll catch you next time.